Hey guys, what's up? It's Lady Calysta. This is the second part of our mobile raid video. Now this video is sponsored by the developers of the game, and I'm going to include the download link for the video game down below in the description. Now I wanted to take this opportunity to talk about a couple of kind of more complex items in the game that I wanted to make sure were clear to everyone. The first one is City Siege. So this is basically where you're battling for control of specific cities. Now City Siege occurs every 32 hours. And what I did here is basically show you the world map. So you can see the variety of different cities: Snow City, the Frost, Mithril City. You are going to notice that those cities have flags flying above them, and those flags are in gray. So that basically means that those cities are available for capture. They're not currently occupied. Now, what I'll show you at the end of the video is what it looks like after the siege is over and all those cities are occupied. You're going to see a variety of different flags over them, and those flags correspond to different alliances. This is kind of the, wanted to show you guys the kind of look and feel of what the city is, and you have the opportunity to scout, to attack, etc. Now, the next thing that I wanted to talk about, also super important, and you're going to be taken there by the progression of the game, is your sub base. Now, if you remember the first video, that's kind of where we ended. We needed to research our sub base, and the reason that I couldn't do it is I didn't have the right heroes. So I mentioned this also before, but it's really important to mention again. It's really important to have your heroes have the right kind of set of attributes so you can move forward, especially with research. So went ahead, had the right hero. I was able to unlock sub base. And then basically it's going to ask you to allocate your sub base. So basically build it. And the opportunity that you have with your sub base is it lets you move your initial base to a part of the map that is much more resource rich, right? So there's 3 levels of resources in this game: level 1, 2, and 3. To go from 1 to 2, you can't just use a relocate. You basically have to create a sub base in resource level 2, and I showed you guys how to do that just a little while ago. You go to the world map, you figure out, you know, a neat place to go. You click build, and you're seeing this right here. This is basically the army that I have set up to take control of the sub base. It lets you pick specific heroes for your sub base, as well as a specific troop composition. Now, again, I mentioned this a little while ago. The sub base benefit is not only does it act almost like a secondary base for you, but it is the only way that you can move from a resource level 1 zone to a resource level 2 zone. As you progress in the game and you keep doing your resourcing for research, your research around kind of like the different resources, you're going to be able to have that sub base then move to a level 3, and you would basically do the exact same thing that I'm doing here. Now you can see this is kind of the composition in terms of heroes and soldiers that I have on the sub base. Sub base takes 10 hours to create, and I did not have speed up, so you cannot speed through this. You basically have to wait until your sub base is complete, and then you're going to go, and the game will take you here naturally. You're going to then move your initial fort over to where your sub base is. So your sub base in essence becomes your original fort, and then you're going to be in a completely different area that you were in before. Now, what I'm doing here is my progress management. Always when you're in this game, open up your progress management, go absolutely down the list, make sure that you constantly have construction going on. That's what I'm doing here. You can kind of see that. And then you have training. So there's 4 different types of troops within the game. You want to make sure you're consistently training them. You always have that going on. So progress management is just like a really neat kind of one-stop shop where you can go and literally go straight down the list and make sure that you are not missing anything, that you're researching, you're training your 4 different types of troops, that you're building via construction, that you're hiring heroes. Again, your hero guild is going to be super important because, to be perfectly honest, it took me a while of kind of playing in that hero guild and constantly trying to hire new heroes until I could find a hero that I could easily basically level up to have the right attributes so that I could open up the research that I needed to be able to create that sub base. And here I'm just showing you kind of the research tree. I tend to focus and always recommend that you focus heavily on your city research tree right off the bat, construction and research, because that's going to be foundational to your game. And then, you know, kind of secondary to that, you start focusing on your war. Now, what I'm going to show you here is how I basically moved my initial fort to my sub base. I went ahead and asked for assistance from my alliance, because what I didn't do, and I hope that you guys don't do the same mistake, is I did not save the chords of my sub base, and there wasn't a really easy way to figure out what the chords were, like where it was located, other than here. So I got to this place by actually posting it on my alliance chat and then just like hyperlinking through there. And you can see here, basically this is my initial fort. You just click transfer, super simple. This is my initial like heroes and army that are in my original fort, basically moving to my sub base, and now I have access to all the level 2 resources. What that means is, instead of having a bunch of tiles around my base that are level 1, 2, 3, I'm going to have level 4, 5, 6, 7. The monsters are going to be higher, the mutants are going to be higher, which means the drops are all better. This is a quick scan through across the various different skins that you can have on your base. There's different ways to unlock them. And now I can go ahead and farm much higher farming tiles and really attack higher level monsters, because that's kind of where the game is taking you. Again, the game makes it very easy in terms of what you should do next. It's not overly complicated or difficult to understand. And I think if you know kind of the key things, make sure you're saving your chords, make sure that you're constantly hiring heroes. I would say the heroes that you have open for you in this game are going to really impact how easily and how quickly you can move through your research and construction, because they will have requirements from a command perspective, from a war perspective, or a charisma perspective, to be able to kind of keep those things moving. Here I'm just basically showing you guys a variety of different upgrades. Again, the game kind of lets you know what you should be thinking about next. Always make sure you're claiming your rewards and you're keeping an eye on your quests. That's super important. And here, it's broken out by chapters, right? So you can see I'm in chapter 13 at this point, and there's a variety of different things that it's asking me to do. And some of the things that they will ask you to do are only doable in a resource 2 type of land. And you can see the difference there, right? In terms of the different levels of the tiles. They are like night and day, so quite different. Now, wanted to also kind of close out by letting you guys know the city siege. I mentioned this already, but it's every 32 hours. Right now in the game, there is no city siege for another 4 hours, but what I wanted to show you is this is what it looks like after all the cities have been captured. So as I'm scrolling through the world map, you're able to see that those cities have been in fact captured by different alliances and guilds. So as I mentioned earlier, you do have the opportunity to invade, to scout, to do a spy war, to rally, to trade with the city. All those things will be locked until you're in kind of the siege mode. But again, it's pretty cool, and you can definitely work together with your alliance to be able to take over those cities. Obviously, they're going to have specific perks. I'm very close to Snow City, so in the next siege, I'll probably try to attack it and see what happens, assuming my guildmates are kind of down for it. But you can see here, there's some big guilds, right, that are starting to take over the majority of the cities. The really neat thing is there are a lot of cities, right? So it's not going to be easy for one alliance to just rule everything. There is going to be a little bit for everyone, which is kind of neat. I know sometimes it can be difficult if there were only like 1 or 2 cities. Hopefully this was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions down below. And as usual, thank you so much for watching.